Well, hey there, everybody, and welcome to Season 7 of the Lunch and Learn series. I'm Joe Vincent, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to this first episode of Season 7, and we've got a barn burner for you. I can't wait to get into all of the stuff because I think there's some very interesting and alternatively exciting material to cover. Maybe not interesting and exciting at the same time, but there'll be some interest and some excitement guaranteed. And on the whole, we're just all glad to be back in partnership with Human Resources and Academic Technologies and Information Technology Services and the AT Still Memorial Library and all of the departments and folks that contribute to make these segments what they are. We're all glad to be back for Season 7. Well, that's an amazing laundry list of departments. It used to be ITS down there with a folding table and a couple of chairs. We've come a long way. Corey, you did a good job. I like all this stuff. To get us started for Season 7, first of all, I was trying to clarify this particular point before we went live on air, and I'm still not completely clear, but joining me, as always, as my co-host and also part contributor today is Kirsty Gaither. Do we have Kirsty? Is there a video? Where is she? There's Brittany. Hi, Brittany.
Hi, everyone.
There's Kirsty. Kirsty, where are you today? You're not in Arizona anymore, are you?
No, I'm actually remote in Oklahoma, Fargo, Oklahoma. So it's about 3 hours from any major city.
Fargo, Oklahoma. I've seen that movie. It looks really cold there.
No, that's probably North Dakota.
No, it's North Dakota. That was the joke. You're really good with your geography, though. We're really proud of you. So we've got folks coming in from Mesa, Arizona. We got Kirsty there in Fargo, Oklahoma. And I've got a room full of people here with me, too, in Kirksville in the studio. We're going to be joined today by Forrest Bollow. Let me see, Forrest. I have your title. Do I have your title? There he is. He's the University Data Manager and Assessment Person in the Office of Assessment and Accreditation. I've also got Melanie Davis, who is the Acting Director of Assessment and Accreditation in the same department. We've got Cindy Ogren, Data Analyst. Cindy, what's your department? It's not on here. These notes are incomplete. Is it Institutional Research? Yeah, there we go. Institutional Research. Brittany Williams is joining us as well. Brittany is an instructional designer and a faculty development coordinator for the Teaching and Learning Center. And then, of course, my co-host, Kirsty, who, in addition to being my co-host, and it's her extreme pleasure to do so, she also has a real job as the Educational Technology Development Center as part of the AT Still Memorial Library. That was a lot. Holy cow. So we should jump right into the episode, yeah? What do you guys think? You're like, holy cow, Joe, stop talking, get back to the points. So we'll do that. We have one major theme that's going to cover most of our day today, and we're going to break it down into 2 or 3 major chunks, right? And so we're going to start with Cindy and Forrest and Melanie and begin us, because you guys all work kind of in or around or sometimes sort of cross paths with each other in institutional research. And I know that's a large part of what your job contributes to, and Cindy's right there in the middle of it. So maybe, Cindy, if you want to get us started, because beyond the title, institutional research, I don't really know what that is, and I'd love for you to give us a little bit of an orientation to start.
Yeah, back in 2015, the President's Cabinet was having a lot of complaints about, hey, we ask a question and we get 3 or 4 different answers or 3 or 4 different numbers. And so we kind of came to the conclusion that, hey, we need a simplified access point or a central access point to be able to get answers to some of our data questions. And that's kind of where institutional research really started firing up. And we've created a website that helps you by data subject area look at AT Still data.
So just to help me understand, because I'm a total novice at all of this, like what's an example of a question that someone outside of the data or research field could ask that what you're doing would contribute to?
Yeah, a lot of the questions, particularly outside the university, is, well, what's your diversity like at the university for student enrollment and or even employee diversity? So we'll have dashboards on the website that show for student enrollment what's the current mix of diversity, male, female, to what's the race and ethnicity aspects.
Interesting. So a lot of demographic data, sounds like.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, that's kind of the starting point.
So you started a website just to, I guess, to help sort of publicize some of the initial data, but it's kind of grown a lot from there, right? The department has taken on an increasingly large role in a lot of those decision-making processes.
Yeah, part of the problem that we started running into is, yeah, we have lots of data. Data shortage is not our problem. We have lots of data. And at various points, the data is the quality becomes issue as well as what's the authoritative source of that data. So we have lots of shadow, lots of systems that we have out there holding data. So who's the real source of that data and maintainer of that data, and that's where we're starting to get into the data governance aspect. So as we are moving towards more or less gut feel in our decision making and more data driven in our decision making, that's where we started branching out into the data governance aspects.
I see. So now, at some point, I assume all of this institutional research had to have a framework. You probably had to establish some ground rules, right? And I think in my notes from talking to you yesterday, it looks like the purpose of IR really started to form around 6 major ideals or foundational concepts, right?
Yeah, we definitely were tasked with creating a centralized repository for institutional research, and as well as doing some of the strategic analysis. So we get to the root of where is the data sourced, how clean is the data, and just what is the best practice, as well as a data dictionary. So while there may be many different definitions, like one of the questions we had was, well, what's an active student? And many people had different answers to that. So it was, we really need to spell that out. What is an active student? And that's what we do on the website, is that we say, hey, here's the student, and what makes them active are these particular statuses. And that helps frame the answer a little bit better.
Now, Cindy, for our audience, I know that you've mentioned the website, but can you talk a little bit about who has access both to the website, but also maybe to the raw data, in case any of the listeners would like to be able to do something with the data that you're mentioning?
Yeah, so the website is accessed through the portal page that everyone that's an employee here at AT Still can get to that. You just have to, there is the graph. Good timing. So on the portal page, there's a couple different ways. You can either just start typing on the search bar there, institutional research, and then you'll get that little icon, graph icon, and then you would select that, and it would take you right to the website. Or you could use the left navigation under departments, research and sponsored programs, and then institutional research is third down there. So you could select those and go directly to those dashboards, or to the website, which then houses the dashboard. I don't know, Joe, if you want to go ahead and select and pull up that on your screen.
Yeah, I think I've got it up here. Hang on one second. Oh, sorry.
So if we
And
go,
while he's looking for it, Cindy, how long did it take to put all of this together? Because I know Joe was mentioning it, but
yeah, it is not a fast process in any way, and nor do you want it to be, because we do have some data definition issues that I talked about, as well as data quality issues, as well as, well, who's really the source of this data? who's the maintainer and owner of that data. So yeah, it's a long process, and it's it's a circle, so it continues. I've got a long-term job, I think.
There's job security there for sure. So I've got your page up here. This is what we see when we come off of the portal and click that link, right? And
right.
I until yesterday, this is a page that I had never looked at before, and it turns out you've got lots of good resources here. Walk us through what this is.
We kind of started with a host of, a smattering of data subject areas that you'll see in the left-hand navigation. So you can select admissions, alumni data, employee data, and student enrollment data. And then there's an ATSU quick facts, which kind of gives you in a nutshell information about student enrollment and degrees granted and
oh, cool. Now, did we say anyone with access to the portal has access to this information?
Correct. Yep.
Because I imagine there's a few people watching this that are thinking, oh, I could poke around in there and maybe find something useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the great part about this is the fact that those dashboards, those graphs that you see on the bottom there are interactive. So it's not a static view. It's you select a program. This happens to be the dental, the ASDO data, student enrollment data. But you can, as you can see there, you can see tooltip information.
Yeah.
And then graphically, you can just see, what's the male-female mix of our ASDO students over time, as well as race and ethnicity, and then age group.
Yeah, that is fascinating stuff.
And Cindy,
So
I think Cindy, you can change the parameters that you're looking at on the fly too, right? By that right navigation.
So on the right-hand side, you can say, "Hey, I'm in KCUM, and so I'm in the Missouri there you go.
I got it. Yeah.
Osteopathic program, which is KCOM, and this information is pulled directly from our IPEDS databases. So the information we report to IPEDS on AT Still is pulled and presented in these charts.
IPEDS is a series of compliance reports that we have to file on a timely basis. I know what those are. I had no idea that all of this information was out here. So let's say I'm Joe, employee, because I kind of am, and you've showed me up to this so far, and I've disconnected from the Lunch and Learn because I'm going right now and I'm going to start goofing around with numbers. Are there cautions? Is there guidance? Are there people that I can use to help me as resources? Am I jumping ahead of things you were already going to say? Or what do I do next from here?
No, I think the key there is you need to read the data around those charts. So right before the charts are presented, you need to look at what's the information about that particular chart. Who's or what's the data source? Who's the data owner? And how frequently is this data? What's the date as of? So you can see those graphs will have date timestamps.
Yeah, I see that here.
When, how current is this particular data? One of the issues I know we came up with is someone was looking at a current enrollment dashboard, and that's like a real-time snapshot of what our student enrollment was, and they happened to catch that in between sessions, and so the numbers were very low, and as opposed to trying to pull that information in the when fall starts, the student enrollment is higher. It can vary, plus or minus about 200, and so that became an issue. So you definitely want to be cognizant of the information about the information, or what we call metadata, and that's what's listed, the English words that are above the dashboard.
Gotcha.
So don't just point to the graph and zoom right in the graph. Do a little research and read about the data that's pulled and represented on on the dashboard.
Very good. Okay, so I'm looking through my notes here because I know when we talked yesterday, and again, don't let me jump ahead because I know you guys have a lot prepared, but one of the things we talked about yesterday is, okay, as soon as we said we were doing the institutional research episode, I got my little airline sleeping cushion thing to wrap around my neck. I considered a caffeine IV during the whole presentation because it sounds awfully boring. But what I've come to understand through being locked in here and indoctrinated for a couple of, no, I'm just kidding. They didn't. I was not forcibly held in any location. But what I've come to learn is, or at least from listening to you talk, I realized that a lot of the decisions that do affect me as Joe employee, or that I observe in some of the university's major activities or strategic initiatives, or when we see, like for instance, the 5 or 6 bullets for the strategic plan that are handed down every 5 years or so, a lot of that is now data-driven as opposed to, as you said, being gut-driven or things that just make sense to me, and so I'm going to put it on paper. We're backing a lot of that stuff up with numbers. Where do I see this happen? If I'm just floating around the hallways, I'm Joe employee in my office and doing my own thing, how is the switch to data-driven decision-making affecting me?
I think on the, I can talk to the strategic initiatives side. So the UAC committees are basically tracking our 5-year goals, and each of those initiatives all have objectives associated with those, and we must now provide specific data to track how we're doing to those particular measures. So how are we doing on diversity? Are we improving or losing ground in that particular space? Where are we gaining ground on? Which programs are experiencing that? So there's a lot of dimensions to it that we can drill down to. So not just at the university level, but program version level. You know, what particular student class are we gaining ground or losing ground on?
And you know, Joe, in collaboration with institutional research and other departments, we pull a lot of institutional data that we look at in efforts to help improve the quality of student performance or improve the quality of the environment. Or so we're looking at those data. We're making data-driven decisions. And we also then have to provide evidence to external agencies, accrediting agencies, and that by providing solid evidence for that, it's helping keep us in the business of educating health science professionals.
And that starts to kind of get into your shop, right?
That's what Melanie and I were talking about a few days ago about, how does this affect other people? And it's important to realize that we have to keep those programs credited. That's our job.
Of course,
that's their job.
That's like mission one.
And so it really has an effect on everybody, whether you're in HR or assessment accreditation or data analysis, so that's just some of the data that we look at.
So is it fair to say that you guys in assessment and accreditation, are you like one of the primary customers for institutional research? Or how does your office intersect with what Cindy does?
So we kind of have, I think, a back and forth with the data, because a lot of data we are able to pull from institutional research, but we also collect a lot of data through surveys and different assessment tools, and then those data are able to inform decisions across the university and would be useful to the institutional research.
So you guys are swapping duties sometimes. Okay, and then I know you mentioned accreditation. I assume you're I think I've had a little bit of interaction with that. But so from the data you collect and then share with IR, and then what IR shares with you, what do you guys do with it? What are you even doing over there?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Well, we prepare reports for external constituents. We prepare reports for internal constituents. the big effort the last 3 or 4 years, of course, has been the university accreditation for the Higher Learning Commission. And so we've been working with committees, and you've been, an essential part of that on a couple of committees. And so we've been working collaboratively across the university to gather data so that we can prepare reports and we can provide evidence that we are doing the things that we need to do.
Yeah, so this is, like you were saying, Forrest, this is where it gets serious, because people who decide whether our doors are open or shut say, we're not interested in your one-off gut feelings. We want to see that everything that we require you to do can be demonstrably done.
And I think we look at it too, that it's a validation for everybody. Are we, this data that we're collecting and we're analyzing, whether it be for internal or external, it's a validation of what we're doing, and it's a way to look at things as a way of improvement too. We may run across things and go, gosh, we're kind of low here. What can we do to improve this area? So
yeah, I've observed that in other things too, but I guess it's mostly like institutional recognition type things that I've worked on, where you find you make as much improvement during the process as you do demonstrating that you're already doing everything correctly. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cindy, do you have that experience very often? That, or I guess I don't mean to direct that specifically at Cindy, but I'm just wondering, where are we improving? Like, what's the new frontier for all of this data collection and employing it in strategic ways?
I think the key thing is that data is now visible. Once we can get to a single source, and now everybody's kind of focused their attention on that single source, it's now starting to get looked at more by more people and validated more. So the data quality goes up, improves data consistency, and just all around improvement in data quality, and that just spirals and moves into different areas. So it's a tremendous gain.
Yeah. What about you guys? Oh, I'm sorry. Who was that?
No. I would just also point out, I know that we talk about data-driven decisions and it tends to sound very negative, but it also allows you to see where we're doing really well, and it gives us the numbers to demonstrate as a university areas that we're really exceeding. So I know that it tends to be looked at areas that we can start focusing our resources in fixing, but there is definitely the upside that we can also, it's not sort of a negative thing, there's very positive aspects of it as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, and that's probably if I've had any intersection with any of this, it's that I've seen positive improvements come out of external assessment periods, where someone's coming in to provide some sort of oversight or regulation or do a periodic assessment. A lot of times those agencies or those groups are just as interested in helping us find areas that need to be improved and helping us put in processes or new areas to look at. So you know what I mean? Not that it's negative, but we do find some areas to improve that end up being very positive by the time the assessment's over. Is that your experience as well?
Yes, I think we've identified lots of areas where we could just, we could implement some processes to make it easier for, if you've got one person in an office who knows how to do things and they're the only one, we're learning that we need to be able to cross-train and put processes out there that anyone could walk in and see this is how we do something. And I think those processes and policies are really important. But as Kirsty was saying, it's been really fun to find all of the good things we have going on, and sometimes we forget to talk about those good things and all the things that we're really doing well. So that's been a pleasure to find and document those things during the process.
Cool. Well, we need to wrap up this part of the segment, and so this is going to be. I did have one more prompt in my brain that I want to think about. I want to hear you guys talk about, because. Again, I like to think, I like to put myself in the seat of someone who really knows very little about this in terms of the expertise necessary. Where did the stuff come from? How do I validate things? How do I ask for help? I think that if the department, like for instance, the groups that come to my mind. If I'm an HR person, let's say I'm the benefits person, and I would like to be able to justify the addition of a certain new benefit. I can go in here and dig up demographic, gender-based, maybe there's other sort of demographic information about our employee population that will help me either make the case for, or that will change my mind and make me look in a different direction based on what I see the demographic makeup of our employees to be. And all of that's right here. If I just push the right buttons, maybe I don't know how. If I'm the staff council, and we want to think about new initiatives for the coming year in terms of what sort of policies or things would we like to push or advocate for, I can find background information type stuff that would help me support or promote those things. And it seems like that might work for almost every department, for some sort of population that's present here. Does a lot of that happen now? Is that a part of what you're encouraging to happen in the future? What?
I think Cindy might want to speak to that a little bit about how we are trying to help people know how to use the data and encourage them to use it, and then come to us if they have questions. But Cindy?
Yeah, I was going to jump in there that certainly Joe's point about, hey, I've got this question, should we have this new policy, HR policy to cover a certain type of employee, by age or something? Well, how many employees do we have that fit that category? Well, it's only less than 1% of the employee population. Does this really justify the cost of that additional benefit? So something like that, a scenario like that, where anyone with that can access the portal can pull up that employee dashboard and they could see, hey, we have less than 1% in this particular group. This doesn't make sense to justify this enormous cost, or whatever the case may be. But certainly we are encouraging the use of that data. I do in all of my meetings. I know I'm on staff council, and I'm constantly pulling up in our meetings, hey, let's take a look. How big is that particular issue? Let's quantify that. So that becomes a training ground, and I think we just have to do more of that through the Lunch and Learns, through everyday meetings, to pointed training sessions.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of potential. And if I were to summarize your mission statement for you, or at least a takeaway from this particular segment, it's that data-driven decisions are going to become more and more important when we're driving institutional direction. But even as we get down to department or office or an individual that wants to bend their work or emphasize that part of their work is important, there's a lot of data available to either support a case like that. Like I'm thinking, I'm making a budget request. Let's say I want $10,000 for unicycles because I don't know why, and I can go in and I can either make a case here and say, well, look. 72% of our employee population lives in states where unicycles get a tax deferred credit something, and that would be great. We should buy them all unicycles. Low cost, great benefit. That you're encouraging that more of those decisions be data driven, and there's a lot of resources here that are available if it's on the portal. That means anybody can get to it. And so now there's just a gap to bridge there between understanding how to employ that data and maybe interacting with your guys' offices to learn how to use it more effectively. Does that seem fair? Mm-hmm. Very good. Well,
I think data
go ahead.
I think data can definitely help or hurt your case, but we want the data to be unbiased on the dashboard so that a fair decision can be made.
Very good. Any final words from you guys before we go to a break?
I would just encourage people to check out the institutional research website and the data, and if you have any questions, as Joe said, reach out to Cindy, reach out to us in the Office of Assessment and Accreditation. So.
Very good. Well, I assume you guys are going to hang around because we're going to take a short break, and then in the next segment, we're going to talk about one of the primary new engines that ATSU has retained, and we've got some experts in its usage right here at ATSU. And so there's some incredible new tools for collecting data and maybe doing it on an ongoing basis that are available. You may have heard of Qualtrics. I know it's kind of been a buzzword, at least in my ears it has been. I don't know about anybody else. I like it. I'm a user of it. And we've got Kirsty and Brittany here that are going to share with us some more about how it works, how you can use it, so on and so forth. I think it's going to be an incredible tool, and it sort of gets to where we've been talking about here with data collection and usage. That's going to be right after the break. So this is where you get to take a bite of your sandwich. The tension goes down. I know you were on the edge of your seat there with all of that IR stuff. Take a quick breather. We will be back in just a few minutes. Ann, are you ready for a break? You look like you're ready. Well, we're doing good on time. But we're going to break for just a second, and what we're just going to take I wonder what's going to happen when we break, and then I get up and run to the bathroom. Everybody's going to watch me.
Yeah. Well, if you take that camera with you, that's what'll happen.
I will not take the camera with me. But I meant they're all going to see me leave. All the break times are gone. It's the worst.
It's true.
You got to go behind the thing to pick your nose.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break.
Okay, so, all right. So, where's Joe? It's 5 till. Joe, where's Joe? Ah, Joe. I'm gonna miss having you keep me on my toes, Joe. Best of luck with everything.
Yeah, I looked up earlier and the camera was on us. I was like, oh, hey, well, there we are. Hi. Good to see you guys again. Which camera? We're figuring it all out this time. It's camera.
This is part of the innovation, the experimentation.
Nice teeth.
You can click on the individual pieces in the bones. It will give you an explanation of what they are.
Can they? And they can still see what I'm seeing, Corey? Oh, yeah. So, like, I feel like I can stick my head inside here. That's incredible. Look, there's his chest bone. Now I'm inside of it. I wonder if I can, what happens if I, oh, that is ridiculous.
Yes, Joe. Hey, Joe. Corey and I always tried to make you look good, and you made it easy. Good luck on your new endeavor, and we'll miss you.
Do you like my hair, by the way? I have to tell you, I've been struggling with a little bit of jealousy because I feel like, and Kit and I have discussed this, everything we do, you do better.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. I'm definitely going to have to keep this mirror. We're so sad that you're going, and I can't tell you how much we're going to miss having my enigmatic co-host here. We're going to miss all of your jokes, but we're so excited for the new opportunity that you are embarking on. I've heard that you don't need this, so I'm going to keep it for when I go bald.
I'm a little congested, so I do have, this is one of the perks of this gig, I do have my very own Kleenex supply here. I'm going to do my very best to make use of these things while the camera is not on me. But just in case you wonder where university funds are expended, this is one of those perk items that I intend to make use of during this show today, and I appreciate your patience.
Since you started, I have earned 2 very distinct aging lines. I've named them both Joe. Joe 1 is from when you leave the set during the commercial and we worry if you're going to make it back. Joe 2 is from when you are late and we worry, where's Joe? Where's Joe? And then you come in and everything's okay. So we really are going to miss you. So good luck in everything.
Hello again, and welcome to another edition of the Lunch and Learn. I am your host, Joe Vincent. I don't have anybody else helping me today, so it's all on me, success or failure. crash and burn, I get to take all the credit or all the blame. Okay, we're back. That was a surprise to me. I have nothing in my notes, and we can't even hear the sound from what's going on those. So I'm anxious to watch that later. It looked like a lot of fun just by watching the video, right? And man, this has been a blast. You may have discovered this is my last Lunch and Learn episode. I'm moving on to other opportunities after this. But this has been one of the highlights of working at ATSU, is getting to do the Lunch and Learn series and work with all of these guys, and sometimes Kirsty too. She was great. I do miss Kit. Kit, if you're out there, I miss you. And it was great when we had Brian here, and he would be so deadpan and serious, and then I could just totally try to rattle his cage, like, so the whole time, see if I could get him out of his professional demeanor. It never really worked. He's pretty solid. Anyway, that looked cool. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'm anxious to go back and watch it later. But let's get back to business. So in this second segment of our show today, I warmed it up for you a little bit by talking about Qualtrics. And here to discuss Qualtrics, how it relates to what we talked about with institutional research, and some other cool stuff like how you could use it, and how all of these people who work here are here to help you use it, which is not often the case when we get new software. It's often like, hey, we got this new stuff, figure it out, have fun. Don't break anything. Not really the case with Qualtrics. So here with us is Kirsty and Brittany. We already introduced you guys, so you might as well jump into it. Tell us what Qualtrics is and why do we care about it?
Well, first we just want to say we are fresh off of the Qualtrics rollout activities from Kirksville. We were there all week last week, and we could not have been happier with the turnout and the interest in Qualtrics. We did the rollout in May for our Mesa campus, and just overall, the rollout team in general was just really enthusiastic about how excited people were for this tool. And now it is university-wide, so we're thrilled to continue to support Qualtrics in any way that people may want to use it moving forward.
Yeah, and so Qualtrics is traditionally a survey tool. It's one of the top brands that is in there for sort of survey research, market research, things like that. It's been around since 2002. It was originally created for a faculty member, and sort of he worked with his son to create it. And so it has these sort of great deep roots within higher education already. But it also has these sort of great aspects of a corporate funded, corporate managed institutional license. What that really means is that it's really good with the support. So as Joe mentioned, we've got on-campus support. They have live support. They have all kinds of discussion forums, but it also is mobile friendly. I mean, they are up to date with sort of whatever is needed by the market. And so that's something that, something that's a little bit less self-sufficient. They don't necessarily update as often. But what Brittany and I are super excited about, because we don't necessarily do traditional research, we help faculty and staff, is that we do have these other aspects that you can use it. And I do want to sort of briefly mention that even though Brittany and I are not research experts, we have incredible research institutions and departments on campus, which includes the library. They are running sort of a data management assistance program. We have a bunch of librarians trained in this, but also we reach out and branch out. So we've got research support, AT Still Research Institute sponsored programs. I know there are a bunch that I'm not saying, but they will help you with research. What Brittany and I are here today are talking about a little bit more about sort of what actually Cindy was talking about, those data-driven decisions, but on a significantly smaller level. So not institutional level, sort of how that might impact your everyday, what you're doing.
Well, and really, Kirsty and I were chatting about this last week. How does it impact the classroom instructor, the class or the clinic faculty member? What if you're looking at changes over time? So, data-driven decisions, the decision-making process. What if I'm watching, certain trends over time, over certain class periods? And that's what we were having a really good discussion about last week. But we are very interested in using this outside of the research intentionality. So like personalized learning pathways, setting content into Qualtrics, and then triggering certain questions based on the respondents' answers. Mm-hmm. Another one might be gamification. I know this is a real buzzword right now. Basically the application of game mechanics in a non-game situation.
And Joe, actually, I think we have an example of this if you want to pull it up.
We do.
I really do want to. I'm trying to figure out, is this the right one or is this the right one?
That looks perfect.
That looks perfect.
The first one?
Oh.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, basically when designed correctly, gamification has been found to increase engagement, encourage retention. And our goal with this type of module was really, how do we increase content understanding, retention, problem solving? And this is one of the modules that we have created as a way to do that. And then speaking of student engagement, we have quite a few examples of faculty that use Qualtrics to maintain that connection with their students, especially as they're out on rotation or maybe off-site, allowing that opportunity to stay connected where you're not constantly emailing your students. You're allowing those open lines of communication, and Qualtrics is really running it in the background for you. So those are just a couple of examples that we have really tried to build out for faculty use, and it's exciting because it's really not intended for that, but we found those use case examples.
And so what Joe is currently walking you through is sort of an escape-based idea. So I don't know if anyone has done an escape the room kind of game, but essentially you select a room, you're then given information. We actually have it, so we're a big fan of multimedia content, and so it'll give you videos, text, etc. And then you actually have a timed quiz where you actually have to get a certain percentage of the questions right to be able to actually escape that room. So it gives those sort of game-based elements. I know we've got some green screen.
There's your jailer right there. See, you're stuck in the room. Here's how. This is your only way to escape.
Yeah, so it's creating this really fun, interactive content. It's using a lot of the best practices out there for educational technology. But what's really nice too is it's capturing a lot of information about your students. So on the back end, even though they're taking this game and it's just something that's fun and novel for them, studies prove that it shows retention of information a little bit better because they're better engaged. But you can actually look, how many of the questions in a certain category did they get right? Do I need to be able to pull up additional information that maybe they were getting wrong so that I can give them remediation resources or more information specifically targeted to people who are getting this question wrong, that a different set of information based on people who are doing another question.
One key feature I definitely wanted to point out as I talk to faculty all the time, I don't know if they're watching my resources, how do I know? Qualtrics is a great tool for that because as you embed the video, you get to see how long they're taking in certain sections of your module or how long they're taking for the entire project. So how wonderful to see if they're actually watching the video all the way through. And then you can target your feedback based on that.
So, you guys have said a lot of things, and I just want to point out here, I see the word survey twice. I should not be fooled into thinking that this is just a survey tool, right?
Yes, definitely. And what's funny is we actually gave you a preview version, so that survey piece of information wouldn't actually show up when students are taking it. But yes, it's not just a survey tool. If we could walk away, I think, Brittany, I'm going to speak for you, with one thing from this Lunch and Learn is that Qualtrics is not just a survey tool. It does so much more. It has all kinds of possibilities, and that it really is something that we have a team of people, Brittany and myself, we have librarians, we have people from ITS staff, who are all trained in it, but we really want to be able to give you those interactive qualities. We want to be able to brainstorm and take it to the next level. So that, again, it's not just a survey tool that you were handed and said, good luck, learn it. We will build things with you. We're really excited about the possibilities that people are bringing. And in fact, it's not just for faculty too. I think that's something that Brittany and I are super excited. She's from the Teaching and Learning Center. So we definitely have had a faculty focus, but this is something that anybody can have. I mean, Joe's staff can use it. He has used it. So this is something you can automate a lot of what you do. I know Kaylin Schmidt now, she's in the athletic training department. They use it for orientation and onboarding of all their athletic training students.
Right.
It's something that you can, if it takes a PowerPoint, a PDF, a series of emails, you could create an automatic survey where all of those things are triggered, it's sent out. You do a little bit of building at the beginning, but then you just sit back and let it email the student by their name saying, hey, this is what you have to fill out now. Things like that, that normally would have taken, you know, checking an Excel sheet, sending an email, sending a follow-up email. That's all automated for you.
Yeah, I can get really enthusiastic about this if there was time, and I won't. But what I will say is, what I have observed with Qualtrics, everyone loves the required employee training, and that's just the data-driven feedback that I get, so don't question me on it. And it seems like we've had to do a lot to improve delivery and to improve the integrity of the software itself and the delivery method. And Qualtrics, they really should take survey off of it. It's anything where I need to be able to deliver content to a specific individual or group of individuals, know that they have done it, know how long it took them to do it, be able to communicate them throughout the process of doing it, and be able to log and record that it's done, and maybe even communicate with them more after it's done. And inside that, when I'm delivering whatever information it is, I need to be able to customize the sequence of delivery, or what information shows up based on their responses to other portions of the delivery. And so Qualtrics ends up being this very wide open delivery mechanism for saying whatever it is you want to, whatever path you need to be able to walk people down, this is the way to create the path, with all of the right signposts and with all of the right buckets and all of the right things, so that when they get to the end of the path, you can really design whatever workflow you want to and whatever objectives you need to meet while they're moving down that path. You can meet those, and then know that they're done and follow up and record and communicate with them that they're done. That took the RET to the next level, because everyone has to do it. We have to know that it's done. It would be great to know how long it took them to do it. We have off-campus people who really don't want to have to do all of the things that the on-campus people do, because they don't risk coming across a blood bag that's fallen and spilled all over the floor. So we're able to customize it based on the demographic, and you answer a couple of questions at the beginning, and it shoots you down the right path. So it's been fantastic for us, and you can do it on your phone, because everything that's designed in Qualtrics is mobile-friendly as well, right? And Kirsty, I think you there's this other slide here that shows something to do with the calendar.
Let's touch the other side. Although actually I did want to mention something that you had touched upon, that you wanted to know how long they've taken. We can actually pull that. And what's nice is once you have that data in Qualtrics, Brittany and I are big fans of using the sort of built-in data and visualizations. We actually have a webinar coming up next month on data and visualizations and how to use it within Qualtrics. But it's something that works long-term. There's an API that works with Tableau. That's what Cindy uses. It's something that you can actually export the data. Qualtrics is known for how well it exports. So you could actually start taking what you're getting in Qualtrics and start adding, demographics, university statistics to it, and start really developing some interesting information. So we're talking about sort of better decision-making, data-driven decisions. That's something that it's not just an institutional level. You could do it based on just even the RET training. We could figure out, do people click through the videos? Are they even watching them? Do we want videos next year? It allows you to change the content. I know, we're going to make everyone
very nervous if we can figure out whether or not they actually watch the video.
But yeah, on a sort of a daily basis, it's not just the UAC committees that is sort of significant. You could actually make small changes that impact sort of what you're doing on a daily level, maybe a monthly level. That allows you to sort of improve and small things, your own job, for the better.
Very good.
But yeah, let's look at this too. This is a scheduling calendar. So this is sort of an example that you can embed code into Qualtrics, so it really allows you sort of a very versatile ability. Joe's logged in, so this is actually pulling up his account.
I noticed that.
If you see on the right-hand side, I know it knows you. On the right-hand side, you see the mobile-friendly version, but on the left-hand side, you can see it's an overlaying Google appointment calendar, so like what Tonya Fitch sends out when she sends out the appointments for those fitness assessments. It's a standard Google appointment calendar, but you can actually have it overlay whoever's in that survey so that they can automatically add it to their appointment calendar.
So cool.
And you can actually ask them a series of questions. So you could say, what are you meeting with me about? Then it sends both of you an email. So it says, hey, they put it on their calendar, but this is what you're meeting about, and maybe let's send an email reminder to them so that they don't forget, because that's something, I know that I have all kinds of things on my calendar, and my calendar alerts don't always work the way I'd like them to. So it's nice to get that additional email that says, hey, and you can set it so that they choose to have it too.
Sure. Okay, that's awesome. Jean's given me the cut it off sign over here, but I want to give you and Brittany a chance to sort of wrap it up. What's the final word on Qualtrics? What do you want people to walk away with?
Well, the biggest thing is that we're not going anywhere. We're here. We have made Qualtrics available to everyone at ATSU, faculty and staff. We do have a continued level of support, not just from the rollout team, but from ITS and the librarians. We have spent a lot of time and a lot of resources training everyone, so we'll not only have ground, but online support as well. We do have a couple of webinars Kirsty was kind enough to mention coming up in October and November. So if you weren't able to join us in person while we were either in Mesa or Kirksville, we'll be doing this on a webinar so that you can join us that way as well. So stay tuned via email. We'll be sure to promote those.
Very good. Thank you. Brittany, Kirsty, thanks for sharing that with us today. And Forrest and Melanie, and I assume Cindy's still there. We haven't heard from her in a little bit, but thank you for coming and talking to us about institutional research, assessment, accreditation, and all the data stuff that goes along with that. I assume everyone's still awake. We haven't figured out a mechanism for making sure if our viewers are conscious, but I think they probably are, because that got a lot more interesting, honestly, than I expected it to be. So, no, that was good. That was good. I'm just joking. I'm partially joking. It was kind of a joke. It's one of those jokes that's embedded in truth, and you say it like a joke so that they sort of question if you're serious or not. There, very good. Hey, and for those of you who took the time to watch with us here over your lunch hour today, or it started at 10 o'clock in Arizona. But anyway, we appreciate you being here. If you want to access this episode after we're done, Corey's going to take it, cut out all of the things I said that were useless, and put a nice and shiny polished version up on YouTube for later viewing. If you saw parts of this presentation that you felt like maybe someone else needed to see and you want to refer them to it, there's the way to do it right there on YouTube. They come out looking a lot better when they edit me out. 90% of it. It's amazing how good the episodes could be.
Half as long.
Yeah, they're really good. Thanks to everyone for being here. Once again, thanks to ITS and to the library for making these episodes possible. And we will plan on seeing you again next time for the Lunch and Learn. Have a great day.